Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor. Today we've got the infotainment review on the 2023 Volkswagen Golf GTI with its base 8-inch infotainment screen. In this video we're going to take a look at how the gauge cluster works, how the infotainment screen works, take a look at Apple CarPlay and Android Auto support, and answer any of your questions you might have down in the comments. So before we get started, let's hop out. Oh goodness, take a look at it. I've done multiple videos on this car already and it still surprises me so much when you get out and it makes that sound. But the base model S GTI here, 6-speed manual transmission, a model that I thought I might choose if I were getting a GTI, but the more time I've spent with it, I don't know if this is the right one. I think Autobahn might be the way to go for the GTI. So if you do want to see more on my thoughts on this one or any of the other Volkswagen Golf GTIs we've reviewed, check the link in the description. Starting right in front of us, a large, if I remember correctly, 10.2-inch digital screen here for the gauge cluster. Now between you and me, I actually kind of would prefer a traditional gauge layout in the GTI. The GTI to me has always stood for a pure, simple hot hatch kind of car, and this big digital display in front of here doesn't really do it for me, but it does give you a lot of information. First things first, using these capacitive buttons on the steering wheel, which I do not care for, let's hit the view button and cycle through all the different cluster setups you can have. So this one's a little bit more futuristic. It's giving you little squares that you can kind of, you even have anything in the middle here? Why? Let's close that. I think maybe the speed would be in the center there if the car were running. Press view again. There we go. Now we've got speed in the middle. Maybe the last one was supposed to be a bit of a simpler screen. Then this setup, a lot of people use to have the big tachometer in the center. And then lastly, this one we were on when we started the car, kind of some fake gauges on the right and left and some data in the middle. And you can customize what's in the right and left of these little pods. If we press the left button here, then we cycle through things that are displayed on the left side. Economy, travel distance, average speed, everything, operating temperatures, what songs you're listening to, average speed or current speed, G meters, which you can see I have on the right, turbo boost. This performance screen tells you how much power you're making in kilowatts right there. And you can also do the same level of customization over on the right side. If you pop into settings, you can essentially just change what screens are provided there as options. And then in the center screen, you also have a few different options for what you have there. I've got my long-term driving data right now, which is showing me average fuel economy, speed, time traveled, and distance traveled. Pressing the up and down buttons cycles through a bit of a calm screen there, date and time, speed, and that is it. Then you can see flanking the center screen, I've got outside temperature, a clock, odometer on the bottom right, and then miles to empty, as well as a very small fuel gauge on the bottom left. Moving to this center display, as I said, there are two screen options for the GTI. You can get this base 8-inch screen or an upgraded 10-inch screen in the higher models. Some people prefer this one though because it gives you a volume knob here and a tuning knob there. It's got some nice clicks to it as well. I don't find using the volume scroller to be the worst thing about the larger screen in this car. I think there are other faults to the infotainment system just in its general usability, but I will admit it is definitely nice having a volume knob. This is essentially your home screen. If you press this big square button here, it takes you to this screen, and it's kind of an app screen. So these are all different tiles of applications, if you will. Then you've got clock up on the top right. If you press that, it brings up the same screen as if you were to slide down from here. These are some quick toggles. Right now it's chosen to have the stability control, come back, air conditioning, sound settings, and a mute functionality, as well as the way to adjust your screen brightness. Definitely useful at night. Let's see, does anything happen if we hold the clock? Nope. Exit that, and then down here you can quickly turn on your heated and cooled seats, as well as get to your climate control menu, which I find kind of interesting. You can quickly get to there, or by pressing down here this climate button. Top left, you've got telephone. Right now, I've got a device connected through Android Auto, but you can still go in here, dial up a quick phone number, get to your contacts right there if you don't like using one of the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto menus. Your radio and media, if you press that, then it brings up two options here for your actual radio, or if you were to click down here, you get your various media sources, your two USB ports, and Bluetooth streaming. If you do want to see a more detailed breakdown on the audio system, check the link in the description for our audio system review. But I will say no Sirius XM radio, just AM and FM for your frequency bands there. Moving over, you've got the vehicle screen. This is going to show you if you've got any low tire pressures, if your vehicle's due for service, how many miles to empty you've got. Down here is a little bit of a trip screen, efficiency since we've started, and then long-term since we reset it, and then since we refueled the car. Some settings as well for tires. You can set your tire pressure monitoring system. Say if you wanted to run at a lower pressure, you could set that into the car. You could also do a speed warning if you're running winter tires that have a much lower speed limit than something like your high performance all seasons. You can put that on there and set the speed. Settings for your brakes. That's where you can adjust the stability control and whether you want the electronic parking brake to automatically set itself when you park. For headlights, you can set how when they turn on automatically, depending on how dark it is. If you want your headlights to turn on when your windshield wipers are on, and if you want the turn signal to make 3 blinks when you tap it like that. If you don't, then it just does the 1. Below that, convenience lighting. So the lights stay on for a little while after you get in or leave the car. Interior lighting, how bright you want your instrument panel to be. Again, that's the same thing we saw in that quick toggle menu. Some settings for your mirrors and wipers, as well as settings for if you want all the doors to unlock. What do we got in cockpit? Eco tips, that's good to be able to turn on and off. It'll tell you things like if you're driving with your windows down, that's not very economical. That's about it for your vehicle menu. Over here in App Connect, that's how you're going to connect to your phone via either Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, or Mirror Link. If I press that, it would bring me to Android Auto. Sound settings, a big toggle screen for it right there. You've got your balance and fader, as well as treble, mid-range, and bass. Ambient lighting. A lot of people are going to spend time in this screen. The Volkswagen GTI has a lot of ambient light settings. You can either have everything in the car be one color, and you can choose from pretty much all the colors of the rainbow, or you can have it be sort of split colors, where some parts of the car are color 1 and other parts of the car are color 2. It's fun to be able to customize them that way. And you can change brightness for different zones, kind of up top here in the gauge clusters, and then throughout the middle of the car and down in the footwells. If you don't want full customization like this, you can simply choose an ambient mood lighting preset here. Eternity, Desire, Euphoria, Vitality, and Auto, which will actually track your drive mode. That's pretty nifty. Over in the Help menu, that's going to help essentially do what I'm doing here, tell you how to use certain things, like your climate control, the basic menu, using your cell phone, how to customize things, selecting items using this control knob rather than tapping, for example. Various means there. Settings. Do we have any interesting settings? Display. You can adjust the brightness of your display. Oh, look at that. Very high. Interesting that brightness is different than this brightness. Doesn't that seem a bit confusing to you? Reminder note. All right, that must be for like getting in and out of the car, reminding you that you might have left something in the back seat. Touchscreen tone. If you like the screen to make that little click sound when you tap things, you can have that on. Time and date, that's how you're going to adjust your clock. And simply hop in here and mess it up, should you choose to. Or set it properly, I suppose. Different languages, what do we got? English, Espanol, and Francais. Additional keyboard languages. Okay, so you can actually change the language of the keyboard. There's how you change your units if you would like to. Manage your mobile devices being connected to the car. Reset to your factory settings right there. Get information about the screen, etc. This is kind of nice, a configuration wizard. So this will actually walk you through setting up your car properly. If you were to buy this used or something like that, you might want to run through that configuration wizard. Last thing on the screen is simply legal notices. So nothing too much more important to get to there. All right, I've got Android Auto connected right now. However, it is worth noting my brand new Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra will not connect to this car via Android Auto. I've tried 2 different cables, multiple configurations, and there's something about it. It does not want to communicate with the car. I've changed device settings, I've changed car settings. Every time I connect, it says, sorry, we couldn't connect to your device. However, this old basic OnePlus phone here that I keep as a backup connected just fine. I've done a little bit of digging, and it seems like a lot of the newer Volkswagen Auto Group cars have trouble connecting to the new Samsung phones, and some of the new, I think, Xiaomi and maybe OnePlus phones as well, has to do with their USB connection speeds. So let me know in the comments, do you own a GTI or some other newer Volkswagen Auto Group product, and do you have trouble connecting Android Auto? But like I said, I've got the older phone connected now, so let's go to App Connect and then Android Auto. There we are, Android Auto coming up on the right side of the screen, and still leaving a little bit of a home menu here to give you your clock and your home button and a quick access to climate, which I should mention before I forget, you've also got these 4 buttons down here, which give you driver assist functionality, climate controls, parking screen, so it brings up your camera essentially, and as well as your sensors, and then drive modes, Eco, Comfort, Sport, and Custom. Xing out of those, back to Android Auto. See, we've got Google Maps coming up right here. This might be functioning a little bit slower than it would on a newer device, but you can still see, actually, it's still working pretty well. Got your pinch to zoom, recenter. Let's head on over to YouTube Music, see what that's going to look like. Get our super mix going. What do we got playing today? A Touch of Class, Around the World. Nice. Okay. And then there is your dialer. Contacts. Can we actually get, there we go, dial a number, something not many people do anymore. And then your app screen here. If you want to get back to the home Volkswagen screen, you can hit that or that right there. How about Apple CarPlay? Let's see how long it takes to hook up. Very straightforward. We can see we've got an Apple CarPlay icon right there now, and same setup as Android Auto, taking up most of the screen. Got our home screen here, and again, Apple CarPlay always very bright, sometimes a little too bright for me at night, but it does look good in the daytime. There's your Google Maps, same functionality. Oh, can we pinch and zoom? No pinch and zoom on the CarPlay. Interesting. YouTube Music, let's hit Super Mix again. What are we getting? Some Moto Grader, old song. Alright, iPhone going a little heavier today. Here's your dialer and your app screen. So there it is, the 8-inch touchscreen here in the Volkswagen Golf GTI. Overall, decent enough to use. It's just the climate screen that kind of gets me, and then these haptic controls on the steering wheel. Having the volume knob is nice, and I think Apple CarPlay and Android Auto work really well. I should also point out it's the frustration that Android Auto is not working on my phone that also doesn't make the system one of my favorites. But either way, let me know in the comments if you have any other questions on how to use this, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.